Yo gamers, what's up? It's Gold Demon 12 back with another honkaistarrail video, and today we're going to be talking about Prydwen's new tier lists, like I've done before, and I will be more, or well, I'll try to explain everything more clearly, right? And as for anyone wondering about the other uploads, ap apologies, it takes me a while to get these out for a variety of reasons, college, and of course, unlike other creators, I don't have access to any pre-release stuff, so I have to, you know, do all my stuff after she comes out for the most part. Right? So yeah, and of course I'm testing stuff for like the Gallagher and Break video, which I am working on. So yeah, be looking out for those videos, of course. But yeah, let's hop into this. So Pride One tier list. Everybody knows their tier list is quite controversial. I will say I have made the mistake in the past of not reading the criteria properly, because they had made changes to it a bit ago that I didn't know. And so we'll be going over that accordingly, and then looking at the lists, right? And I'll share my thoughts. Simple as that. Um, yeah, so the main thing with the roles, damage dealers compared to other damage dealers, and the ratings are adjusted based on their performance within that role. Don't try to compare characters between roles. For example, amplified with a damage dealer, because their ratings mean different things. I mean, that one makes sense, right? Criteria: manual play using the optimal team composition, support characters, character level 80, all major traces unlocked, and skills upgrade to level 8. I'll be honest, I think it should be level 10. This might be a hot take for some people, or like certain people who don't like level up their characters all the way, but all my characters that I like actually use, because again, I'm not, as a free to play, right, I'm not going to level up every character, but the ones I do level, right, I mean, maybe this is just me, but I fully commit, these characters are very powerful, like Run May. My bad. I I'm going to level up all her traces. Same thing with Acheron. I leveled them up. I'm going to level them up all the way. So I understand why they do level 8 as like a minimum threshold, but I really think we should just do it at like level 10 wise. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Like I understand why 8, but I I don't see, like I also understand level 10, right? Personally, I would have it at level 10 because I want to know what the max is, right? A character equipped with level 80 light cone for 4 and 5 star, but only those available to free to play players. Does that mean they're basing it off Aeon, or no battle pass light cones? Because there's gonna be a significant difference. Um, I'm not sure what this. I'm not sure what the free to play light cone part is for. I think they should specify like no battle pass, or like no signature or something like that. But okay. Character equipped with a 5-star gear with optimal main stats and substats with 24 desired subsets out of possible 54. Eidolon 0 for 5 stars, and Eidolon 6 or 4 for 4 stars. And again, I'll be doing it at 6. We're not going to look at the we're not going to look at the E0 4-star versions. There's a time reason, and because I don't, it's not, I'm not really interested in that part, to be honest with you. What affects the rating? So each tier lists, oh my god, English. Each tier list rates characters based on their average value for a specific game mode it represents. The character, the higher the character is rated on the tier list, the greater their power and more widely they can be effectively used in that mode. We consider flexibility, how the character's kit functions in various against various enemies types, amounts of enemies, and their ability to perform when not fighting against enemies vulnerable to their element. Again, I presume this was something else, but again, fair enough in terms of flexibility. Investment: some characters require specific 5-star limited units, heavy investments, or relic stats, or abundance of stats in order to function at the highest level. Each of these points will impact the character's ratings. There's a couple characters I do have a gripe with this on, but I'll speak about that later. Damage dealer. Rating is heavily influenced on based on the character's abilities to deal enough damage to achieve 3-star objective. The easier, the more quickly it's achieved, the higher the rating. Specialist. Rating is heavily influenced based on the damage they provide, defense or efficiency boost created by the unique teams these characters create, or the utility they provide against certain encounters. Amplifier. Rating is influenced based on the damage amplification abilities of the character and the utility they provide in the team. Sustain. Rating is influenced based on the character's ability to keep them alive until and the utility they provide. The more utility, the higher the rating. Yeah, right. Don't even have to read the rest of it. So, looking at the most recent one, which is going to be this up here, right? We're not going to look at the last change. That's when Sparkle was added, or Sparkle changed after the Pure Fiction. So, changelog Acheron and Gallagher were added to the list. We're placing Acheron in S plus alongside Jingliu and Bibitor Lune. As for performance, MOC is absolutely some of the strongest thanks to the incredible burst damage, frequent ultimates, and ability to brute force encounters via her universal break and resistant shred. Yeah, her technique is very powerful. And so yeah, resistance shred. Why? I mean, that only matters for her ultimate. So like, I don't know. Whatever. Her power level and memory chaos can be higher than that of Jingliu and Bibilu. Oh, they're just gonna outright say that. Fair enough. I mean, look. It's true. She's got. You can call her Mr. Potential, but she's got a lot of room to grow. So yeah, there is that. Can be higher than Jingliu Bibilu, but she deserves an overwhelming amount of benefit from her personal light count, or derives. Uh, she derives the overwhelming benefit from her personal light count. I mean, I'm not gonna say she doesn't, because obviously her light count's a significant jump, but you can see people do one cycle clears with Good Night Sleep Well. So like I really don't think it's a big deal. I mean, I think it matters more that you have the support light cones, right? I feel like a lot of players who don't have the support light cones are going to be like completely out of luck for her teams, right? Because Trend, what is it? The Luca light cone, Pearls of Sweat, right? And then there's that old 4-star tutorial, right? For the supports that you can run on all of them and significantly increase your rotation. I feel like players who don't have those light cones, especially the one that wasn't event limited, are impacted more negatively towards our kit because they don't have the accessible options for the other characters, right? If that makes sense. Um, I don't think that's necessarily a huge negative against the character because it's going to matter on which characters that player has in the first place to like actually use. But I do think that is something worth noting. And overwhelming amount of benefit from a personal light cone. I'll have to use her more without the light cone. So like I think it's fair to state this, but I don't I personally I don't think it's a negative. Honestly, people freak out about it, and especially with like the Brax quote, which is I think he was looking at it from a different thing specifically. But if you actually look at the damage, it's anywhere from like 17 to like 30% over Good Night Sleep Well, assuming you get more ultimates off, right? Um, and it can be even more depending on the rotation of ultimates, right? But in a scenario where you're gonna kill everything within the first like one or two ultimates, it doesn't really matter too much, right? So yeah, I don't know. There's been a whole like drama about her light count and stuff. Whatever. I'm just gonna move on. There's no point of like spending the whole video talking about this. Even among 4-star options without S5 Goodnight Sibyl, things are rough. True. In terms of light cones, Pearls of Sweat, not everyone will own. Okay, they do mention that. Okay, they do mention the Pearls of Sweat thing. In their own signature relic sets, main sets, planars, blah, 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 respectively. Oh, how it's brand new, not everyone will have it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We'll be keeping them together for now, despite the higher ceiling. I mean, look, she has really high like ceiling in terms of potential, right? We don't even have like proper infinite like stacking debuffers, right? We've got Silverwolf and like Pella who are like the key debuffers right now. And so once we get like an Acheron support, she's gonna be like way higher up. But yeah, definitely those restrictions make sense, and they do actually mention that. Currently, we feel it's not as universally easy to achieve everything Acheron needs to shine, but we'll keep a close eye on her. Um, look. I'll scroll down here real quickly. I do think she deserves S plus. I'll just get that out of the way. I know we're like 10 minutes into the video. I do think she deserves this because I've compared her to these other characters and used these other characters, and she performs better than them, and she performs on the same level as my Jing Liu, who is also E0S1 currently. A lot of people are gonna look at the videos. I don't have E2 Acheron yet, and it's not even activated on the E1. All right, you can see here it's not activated. All right, I've been using her strictly at E0 to gauge the performance, and it's been similar to my Jing Liu, so I think it's fair to put her up there. But I'll explain more later. Despite Acheron's exceptional performance in MOC, Pure Fiction encounters more resistance. True, but in this Pure Fiction, I've been able to max clear with her. With like a funny team setup, right? Using her technique, she like one clears a stage, and it's like crazy. Her technique's stupid. Um, Almost all of Acheron's killing powers with her ultimate. In pure fiction, she'll be relying mostly on that. True. Often insane overkill, wasted damage. Yeah, you can clear a wave and then have the buff like kill two enemies, and it's really annoying. You'd want to clear a wave and then have the buff kill a whole set of enemies, but yeah. Even stacking slash stream, Acheron still has trouble getting ultimates. Yep. Yeah, you need to apply the debuffs, right? You need to have really fast characters without exceptional gear, which this list does not include at this stage. Yeah. I mean, you have to have like cracked setups for her to do it, and I wouldn't say my setup's cracked, but I have a 160 win set Pella, which is very unrealistic for most people. So I guess that's fair enough. um, this problem can be remedied by some extent by relying on multi-damage and agility setups due to her ultimate reliance and her pace. Yeah. So yeah, she's A in pure fiction. I think this is totally fair. 100%. I do think last time I looked at it, their pure fiction rating, I do think there should be changes made. I'll probably cover that now, and we're already going on 10 minutes here. But I have considered like doing crit Pella for pure fiction reasons, right? And I'd want Pella to do damage anyways, but the problem is trying to balance attack, crit, speed, and effect hit rate. You need to balance like 6 different stats, and it's just way too annoying. And so I just full sent speed Pella, right? I didn't even worry about the crit. But I do kind of want to do like damage dealing Pella because we now have Inazumo and we have the debuff set, which Pella can consistently proc all of that. So I do kind of want to make Pella deal damage, but it doesn't really seem too worth it, even though her numbers are decent enough to make it work. The speed and debuff application is much more important for like Acheron, so it's like, despite me wanting to do that, I don't really think it's worth it. If we had a debuffer that was innately fast and you could sacrifice other stats, then I 100% would. But maybe that future support, right, allows me to do something like that. Who knows? Gallagher is a unique niche, being a breaker and debuff applier and healer. Something entirely unique, placing him in a similar category synergy as Lynx and her taunting. Fair. Unlike Lynx, though, Gallagher has some weaknesses when it comes to healing. He sacrifices safety, synergy against enemies that dish out a ton of damage. He sacrifices safety for synergy. Yeah, true. Against enemies that dish out a ton of damage. A ton of burst damage. Gallagher lacked mitigation, shields, and instant healing. Yeah. Which can lead to death. And actually, I've died with him, but I do think he's very good. Even when his ultimate is achievable, he cannot heal during an enemy's turn. Fast enough enemies also give Gallagher trouble unless he has excellent speed and energy recharge. Yeah, I do think it's best to run him like energy recharge with enough speed, right? And especially E4, because E4 like drastically changes him. But it is, something worth noting. So it will substantially lower the time his bestowed status, putting in your team healing through a pinch. Yeah. For these reasons, we're placing him in B to recognize his synergy capabilities, but not level safety of Lynx. I'll be honest, I do have some thoughts about Gallagher. I think he's way better than people are giving him credit for. Because something I've noticed while using him is healing scales based on the number of targets hit. So like if you do an AoE attack, you get more burst healing from the ultimate, which I didn't even know. But because of that, you can like full heal like whatever character's hitting the target, just from them hitting. Now, granted, again, it's not as safe as like Luocha, but the damage he outputs can be really good against those setups. But yeah, he definitely, I do think, requires a certain synergy. And they probably should put the synergy mark on them. Their little like synergy mark, not gonna lie. But maybe that's just me. But I do think these characters should be notable for those synergies. But yeah, let's look at the list. I've been yapping for 15 minutes and we haven't even looked at the list yet. So starting off with the damage dealers, they have Acheron, Dan Heng, and Jing Liu at the top spots, at S+, with S being Dr. Ratio, Zila, Jing Yuan, QQ, and then A is Argenti, Blade, Clara, and then, B is Himiko, Herta, and Serval. C is Dan Heng with Hook, Misha, Arlen, Trailblazer, and Yang Qing being Han. So, S+, I think this is totally fair for all of them. Now, personally, like, I will say, and this, again, is entirely probably my account, but I think Jing Liu is still currently better than Acheron. I'm pretty sure have this listed by, namesake, right? So it's not like 1, 2, 3, it's Oh, A, D, J, right? I do think the order is like Dan and Jing Liu, like they're tied, and then it's Acheron, but they're all S plus, right? Uh, Jing Liu is too easy and free, and like her kit overall is just stupid. It's like actually stupid. She's got the most cracked stats of all time. Um, Jing Liu is crazy, especially with her signature light count. And actually, this is why I was asking. It's like I think they are rating this off of not signature, right? Because I'm pretty sure she gets a bigger boost from her signature than Dan does from his, but I don't remember. I could be wrong about that. Someone can tell me in the comments. But personally, like I do understand like the like object rating, right? Um, I honestly think Jing Liu is still by far number one, and then it's like Dan and Acheron tied because I really don't like how Dan feels to use even with Sparkle. I think he feels bad, just personally. Like he's good and powerful, right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, he sucks. No, 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 of course not. I'm not dumb. I just don't like how he feels to use, which is one of the main reasons why I didn't get him. Like I just don't enjoy playing the character. Um, but in terms of what I've seen in performance, I feel like Jing Liu, and I've looked at numbers. Their numbers are like the same for these two characters, with Acheron being slightly behind. But I just feel like Jing Liu is so much easier to like run and use, and like she's just so cracked that I do think she's just like by far number one, right? Um, and then obviously Acheron, she has her issues. I do think she deserves S plus though. If we take into account her signature light count, again, they are saying that they do only available to those that are free to play. So I'm not, again, I think they should clarify this. But what I'm using these two characters, I have both of them with their signature light count, right? Their performance is about the same. And so I do think they deserve to be up there. Like just simply. Like they both perform well. I think they should be up here. I do think my Jing Liu is better than my Acheron simply because the fact that she's performing about the same against an enemy that's like ice resistant is definitely shows how powerful she is. Um but like I don't know. Like there's nothing really to say about this. I think this is totally fine. And again, people will disagree with me 100% on like that Dan Hung thing and everything, but it's just how I feel personally. But yeah, those are three make sense. Uh, Later on the DPS tier, we have Dr. Ratio, Jing Yuan, QQ, and Zila. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I still don't think QQ should be in this role. They talk about the in their tier list, right? For their criteria. Investments, which is requiring specific 5-star units, are heavy investment into relic stats, right? I think this is QQ's biggest downside. Her investment like so you have to invest into her a lot to get out of it, but it's still RNG at the end of the day. And so I just don't think realistically she performs at this level. I think she should be moved down to A, to be honest with you. And there's the whole argument with her versus Zila in terms of like who's the better DPS, and Zila not being able to get kills and blah blah blah. Um, like we can nitpick about these two characters all day. Um, I'd say it's probably fine to leave them in leave Zila here, assuming her like optimal setup. But QQ I just don't feel like should be here. Now Jing Yuan's another story. I kind of honestly think he should be moved down, to be honest with you. I don't like how he feels, and his performance just feels bad at a free to play level. Um, it's in like there's this whole thing like Mr. Pokey did a video of like trying to zero cycle Jing Yuan with versus Serval, which he I think was it autoplay? I didn't watch the video fully, so I don't remember. But Serval got it way easier than Jing Yuan. Now I'm not saying that Serval is like better than him, but I just don't think Jing Yuan really deserves his placement with his performance. Um, he just feels way worse and has way more issues than like anybody else here. Which ratio is like you apply debuffs, which you get all your debuffs from like one character for the most part, or two. And in this case, there's even sustains that have debuffs. So like ratio's performance is pretty consistent, and he does a lot of damage. And he has a lot of built-in crit. He's got a good free-to-play option too, and so he's got a lot going for him. Versus Jing Yuan, who's doesn't have the best free-to-play option, and his damage output is locked behind whether he's CC'd if there's a shield or X number of enemies because of how the Lightning Lord works and all this stuff. It's very complicated. I had a whole video back in the day talking about his like issues. But I just find it really hard to place him in S plus. And I know every time I say anything, I get Jingyuan mains mad at me, right? Because they see the build and they just get absolutely enraged. And it's just it's crazy. I don't know why like we're like why this conversation keeps happening. Every time I upload a video, they're like, "Oh, don't go for main stats. Go for or sorry, don't go for four piece. Go for your main stats. You know this. It's like, oh well, you don't have this. It's like, oh well, running him with this like no, no. I'm not trying to do that. He has issues. I'm going to talk about his issues just like everyone else's issues. I point out Acheron's issues. I don't think he deserves this placement with his performance, right? Sparkle is basically carrying him hard, right? In terms of like the crit. They give him a huge damage boost. Because before, I mean, you would still run this. You run Ting Yun and then you run Rune Mei or Sparkle, right? I know a lot of people are switching over to Sparkle for like the crit, right? You can see a bunch of Sparkle teams, right? And the roommate teams clearing the same cycle based on their data, right? On Prydwen's data. Right, so that's basically what you do. And so I've got the right like setup, but like I just find it hard based on what I've seen performance-wise for Dr. Ratio, right? And these other characters, I find it hard to put Jingu on here. I'll be honest, right? I mean, look, yeah, he can zero cycle, right? In certain stages, he can. In certain stages, not I don't know about the current one. I haven't seen it, but I don't know, dude. I find it really hard to place him here, and I don't have anything to say about Dr. Ratio. Um, Now everyone else I think is totally fine. I do think Argenti is, still mid Genti, like always. Blade, unfortunately, at free to play levels is kind of lacking. He did get a new Lycon though, so that's pretty nice. And then to consider everyone else's performance, I think it's totally fine. Clara is fine. She's RNG though, I would say. I'm not sure why they took away her RNG symbol. Serval, Herta, and Himiko. I mean, I feel like this is fine. Serval does require way more investment to like get her going, right? Um, for her teams and everything. I think this is fine. I mean, we can make an argument to move her up, but I do think as per how she performs against these other ones, her numbers are about the same, and she does basically the same thing as Himiko for the most part, except for the follow up. So I guess that's fine. And then everyone else on here, I don't know why Yang Qing is here. I He's not that like I'll be honest, I haven't seen enough about Yang Qing. But is he really that bad? Like I don't know if he's really that bad. That one just seems kind of weird to me. Misha, he's a new character since the last time I did this video, and it's fair. He's down here. He's bad. I'll be honest, he's just bad. I had some dude in my comment section talking about how Misha's like, oh, really good. He's bad. Okay, I'll be honest, he's just bad. Um, you can't go and tell me that, oh, E6 Misha in an AoE scenario hits 200k, blah blah blah, when he's getting a 900% ult multiplier and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, you want to know what Acheron does in AoE scenario? A million plus damage. She's doing 5 times Misha damage in AoE. How was Misha good? Like, I don't even have to do this. Misha does have a synergy. Apparently there's synergy with him and Dan. I have not seen that. I saw it in a Guoba video. So maybe I need to look more into Misha, but I think it's totally fair to put him here. His performance, and again, just looking at his kit, I don't think competes whatsoever. I would say he's just bad, straight up. Right. Moving on to specialist, Kafka is still an S plus. I'm gonna clarify once again. I think it's fair to put her in S plus, but I think she should be S based on the level of investment you have to put into the DOT team to perform, and as well as like again, she's insanely flexible, right, with the amount of characters she can be with and the modes that she works in. But from the purely investment and accessible options, I do think she should be an S, right? The how much you have to put into the team to get as good as output as Jingliu, you just press one button and go sort of thing. And I know they say to not compare across categories. That's fine, I guess. But I understand Kafka's performance, but if we don't have a DOT character that's like doing 50 things, then like why is she really an S plus? You know what I mean? And so like I think it's fair here, but I'm still like iffy on the placement, if that makes sense. I'm probably not explaining it well, but I just think if we're looking investment wise to get this quote unquote optimal Kafka, you gotta have her light can have like 160 plus speed, right? You gotta have a bunch of attack on her, right? With Run May, Black Swan, and all this other stuff going on. Whoa, right? And so like it gets pretty insane. Um, and so like I don't know how I feel about this. I do think it's fair to put her here, but I think you can make a case to make her an S tier. Just saying, right? Just saying. Um, maybe that's again. One of my other videos. Kafka mains got mad at me for saying that I don't think she's should be up there, but I can't really explain it. It's just like I feel that she shouldn't be there, right? But it is fair. As for Black Swan, again, this is totally fine. She does multiple things, having defense down and applying a bunch of DOT, right? Given you've got other DOT characters to help stack, very very powerful. Topaz, I'll be honest, beforehand I thought she was lower, but thinking about it nowadays with Dr. Ratio, Aventurine, other characters coming out, I do think it's actually fair to put her in S, given that she has her light cone, because her light cone is huge to how she functions, right? It gives her another debuff, and it allows her to give crit damage to allies, which is going to be good on the follow-up team because, well, guess what? Everybody crits, right? You have your Ratio, you got your Topaz, your presumably DPS Harmony character, right? Wink. And then Aventurine, who's going to be doing damage on the side. So what she does is very good. She also provides a debuff for if you have an E2 Acheron, which that's a different thing, but you could use an S1 Topaz to buff Acheron by giving her extra stacks because you'll get a bunch of stacks from Numby attacking. So you can juice the stacks in a certain way to like trigger more ultimates of Acheron at E2 plus. And so you can do really funny like 0 turn ultimates with like Topaz and Numby, but that's a goofy setup, right? You can do that. Try it in Pure Fiction if you've got this setup. I have it. I've got the E1, but yeah, it's something that works. It's pretty funny. But given how Topaz works in the follow-up team and everything, I think it's fair here because of the synergy, right? It's another thing. I think like Gallagher and stuff, they should have the synergy mark. I think that's totally fair. Same thing with, I think Himiko and Herta should also have the synergy mark because of the synergy together. And then again, this is just like my opinion, but I do think like Blade, Himiko, Herta should also have the synergy mark. I mean, I think the main reason they put it there is for characters who power drastically increases with one or more specific characters on the team. So like I guess it's fair to not include it because like Topaz gets a lot more when she is with these other characters that want the debuff application, right? So that makes sense. I feel like at least Herta in the DPS category probably needs it. I'll be honest. Um, but that's just me. That's just me. Right. That's totally fine. And then yeah, I don't think Yuka should be there. But moving on, we have Luca as a breaker in A plus. Bleed damage is very strong. And we have Sampo with the synergy. He has good synergy with Black Swan and Kafka, so that makes sense. Actually, speaking of which, Gwen needs to be moved up. I don't know why she's not with the rest of the dot characters when she's doing the same thing, and if not more for like Acheron teams. And she has a synergy mark as well. So why isn't she with the rest of the dot characters? I really don't get it. This one just seems ridiculous to me that she's not up here with an A tier with the other ones. And then Shuei He is really strong for a 4-star DPS character, and they put her as a breaker. I've got my Shuei He to do like 200k plus break recently with like Gallagher buffs, and so excuse me, she's got very very good performance, right? Enjoying this character a lot, especially because I finally got her E6. And let's actually look at this. Does it fall off? Yeah, it goes down 1 tier without the E6. So I think that's fair. Again, very, very strong as a DPS character for a 4-star, right? Pretty solid performance, especially once you got her invested in. But the main thing drawing her back is that investment, right? Because she needs break, attack, crit, right? She's one more extra stat compared to a normal DPS, right? So yeah. Again, fair, very pog character. As I said, Gwen should be moved up. Welt's, I'm still iffy on. I am actually liking the Welt Acheron synergy more than I thought I would. It's one of the teams I theory crafted with beforehand, but I honestly put it down just because of the SP cost and usability of it. But this current Pure Fiction does have imaginary enemies, and because I've been, specializing or using Welt's tech appropriately, right? For delaying the enemies like during their turn and all that stuff. I think it's better than I originally thought it was, but I don't know if it's enough to move him up, right? Because I mean, maybe he should be moved up because his damage isn't all that bad, honestly. And I do have E1 Welt, so maybe my perception is skewed with having this account, right? And with like Trend. right? Not trend. Tutorial. Tutorial is crazy, right? Uh, but maybe it's just I don't know. I'm thinking too much about pseudo sustained well, and as a damage dealer. He's pretty solid. I think you could justify moving him up. The synergy mark does make sense, right? Given Acheron and what other things he wants to do with like pseudo sustain. But I don't know. I don't know. That one's here nor there. Then we have the preservation MC with Shishang. I'll be honest. I think we can say this again. Wait, no, this is MOC. So there's the trend gimmick with the Flame MC and Acheron where you can generate like 6+ stacks in one rotation. But as I've said in my previous videos, it's very matchup dependent, so I don't know if it's worth necessarily bumping MC up one. But if we do bump MC up one, given Acheron synergy, we need to move Gallagher and a couple other characters up, just saying, right? This right here, stupid. But yeah, as per Sashang, this one's a bit weird because they've got Luca as a breaker and Sashing as a breaker. Luca is like better though because of his, the DOT synergy and everything. But she also has turn advancement and very high single target break. So I don't know how I feel about Sashang. I haven't seen enough to really cast judgment on her, right? So there's that. As for amplifiers, obviously Rune May and Sparkle up here. I'll say it again, Rune May is the most broken character in this game by far. She is the only must summon, and yeah, and then Sparkle, very, very powerful and a huge upgrade over Bronia for a lot of teams. So, yeah, again, makes sense that these are the only two S plus characters, and they should be the only two S plus characters. I'll be honest. You can make an argument for Ting Yun, I guess, because Argenti and Jing Yuan need her, right? And then arguably Jing Liu. Well, okay, so this is why I said Ting Yun is the best, like back in the day, is that every like meta character needs their ultimate for something, right? And Bebe Lune, Jing Liu, right? They want extra stacks, extra stacks. you want their ultimate, right? Ratio gets more follow-ups if he gets his ultimate up, right? Because he's got the guaranteed follow-up thing with the bonus damage, right? Jing Yuan, he needs to do it to build stacks, right? Zila, she wants her ultimate for very big damage, right? Argenti needs his ultimate for all of his damage, right? Blade is one of the ones you don't actually need it as much, right? Clara for the Clara setup to make her do as the most counter damage possible by buffing her with links, Ting Yun, and then going crazy, right? All that stuff, permanent ult uptime. And the list goes on, right? Just about every one of those characters needs it. Kafka teams without like you can use her in Kafka teams to force trigger more ult procs, right? Every single like meta character until Acheron needed Ting Yun for like something, right? Or at least one of Ting Yun. So having her in S makes sense. And you could have made an argument for S plus, but these guys just do way too much to push Ting Yun out. I'm gonna say it again. Down with Silverwolf. This character is worse than Pella. Move Pella up. Move Silverwolf down. I will not be explaining it in this video except for the fact that Pella is AoE, Silverwolf is single target, and eats up your skill points for something you don't even need. Okay. As soon as we get another AoE debuffer, Silverwolf is gone. Excuse me. Silverwolf is gone from every team, and that is that. Okay. Down with Silverwolf. Yeah. And then Bronya makes sense. Of course, move Pella up. Hinya and Asta, I think these two are fine, honestly. I don't really see too much to say about them too. Hinya does give a significant buff to like Argenti, for example, being physical. But like it's hard to really say because she's giving a single target speed buff versus AoE speed buffs with the other characters or another hypercarry speed buff. And so you can, I guess, arguably move her up, giving like it's like 70% attack, and then like a percent of her speed with 10% damage, or no, it's like 20%. Then Eidolon boosted it more. So like she gives decent buffs, right? Pretty good buffs. But I do see like in comparison to like what these other characters do, why she's down here, right? Because it's double turns or a bunch of crit, right? Or literally does everything, or energy with all that damage bonus, right? Which every character wants. So it makes sense here, but I feel like you probably could argue. Well, let me think. If we go to the flexibility point, no, I see why they're down here. First off, Pella more flexible than Silverwolf. Completely skill light positive, even if you don't have the funny light cone. Move her up here. Just saying. And same thing with these other characters. Again, Bronya got pushed out some of her roles, so that makes sense. Actually, thinking back to Weld is pretty flexible. MC less so. I still think these two could be moved up. MC debatable, but Pella needs to be moved up. Silverwolf moved down. And then these two, it makes sense because they're Hinya makes sense for less flexible. Asta's a weird one because she's pretty flexible, I'd say, but she's significantly better against fire enemies, and if you have the E6, which it completely changes her at E6, getting the extra stacks, keeping more stacks, and then energy recharge. So, I guess it's actually justified here the matchup for these two. And then Yukong's just a shaft with how the game works. If we had a character like, so it's the same thing. Yukong at E2 with Dan and Acheron can actually do really funny numbers because of how it works, but you need to have these two characters at E2 to make use of it like at a maximum level, right? And that's just not going to happen. I mean, you could of course do like Yukong as the last nihility and just try to go for one mega nuke, right? So like you do 2 nihility with Yukong and then try to go for like a mega nuke. But it's not as like safe as running like Ruan Mei with Welt, right? So yeah, I don't know. Even at E2 Lune, like why would you use Yukong over Sparkle or Ting Yun, right? You wouldn't use it over it. You'd use it with them ideally, but Sparkle doesn't generate enough SP to funnel with Yukong, right? You need enough to funnel Dan. So it's like, despite her numbers on paper being really good, the way she works practically, and you only get for the most part 1 effective buff turn every like 4 turns for the most part. You can do 3 turns, but most of the time it's like 4. It's just not worth it versus characters that have permanent ult uptime, right? So yeah, I don't know. Yukong's such a weird spot. It's hard to rate her. Mine has been E6 since she's first come out. It's really hard to say. As for the sustains, I'll be honest. I'll say it again. I think looking more into it, especially with the release of Gallagher, Ho Ho or Hua Hua and Fu Xuan need to be an S plus by themselves right now, currently. We can leave Luocha where he is, but I think when Aventurine comes out, it should be Hua Hua, Fu Xuan, and Aventurine an S plus. Now people are gonna be like, "There's no way you're putting Aventurine S plus." He provides a lot of utility. I think you can make an argument for him to be an S plus, 100%. Especially if you build him like pure defensively and on his team. This requires synergy, right? He wants the synergy with Tobaz, Numby, and Ratio, right? You want the synergy. He performs very, very strong. Luocha is not better with the rest of them. Previously, I have said he's on par. Before he was. But in terms of like how the meta is moving and what Luocha provides, I honestly think he's being pushed out of his roles for a lot of teams. And just because of how Ho Ho works and like Gallagher, they're better options for those teams. Now, that's a whole nother talk, right? Again, in my video, I will be directly comparing Gallagher to Luocha, as I think you can easily make an argument for Gallagher being better. Now, this isn't to say anything negative about Luocha. Of course, I've hyper invested into my Luocha various times. Currently, he's on a full healing build. I had him on a damage build for a little bit. I wouldn't recommend it, but again, I've been big on Luocha since the beginning because of how safe he is and what he provides in terms of his breaking and other general stuff that he helps with the team, right? I just currently my opinion has changed. I don't think he's on par with these characters anymore. I do think that these two are better and that Aventurine will be better for a lot of teams over Luocha, right? Just straight up. Right. Now this of course changes against, there's a couple of matchup stuff like Sam draining your HP, right, with skill points, and so maybe if you don't do it fast enough, you'll die with one of the other characters like theoretically, Fu Xuan could get you killed in that scenario, or Aventurine, because you get one shot from like a 200k attack from, or sorry, a 2k attack from like some other side enemy while your shield's low and your HP's low, something like that. But there's a whole lot of specific setups that I don't think would practically even happen. But Luocha in his safety, who can out heal Sam to some extent, right? My Luocha does it a little bit, right? And I run it with Jingli Yu too, so the fact that I stayed alive against that with double HP drain says that he definitely does perform well enough. against current content, but I feel like I just 100% these other characters are better. I would just say, right? He's good, but I don't. It's sort of like I don't think he should be a Ran, right? I will probably fully replace him with Gallagher in the future once I invest more into my Gallagher. I will again, as I said for the video, um, I do genuinely think Gallagher can beat to the low just like straight up. As for Lynx, this is fine to put her here. She's got a cleanse, so that's one up over Bailu, and she's got special synergy with Blade and Clara. So maybe they should put the synergy mark. I don't know. Gallagher needs to be moved up one. Both Gallagher and Japard need to be moved up one. I don't know why we're like doing this thing with like Gallagher, and I understand he needs his E2, but we're looking at this E6, right? His E4 drastically changes his performance, and as I said earlier, if you have an AoE character hit multiple targets, they will get extra healing from his ultimate, right? As well as because of that and because of how his scalings work and with his various Lycon options, he can full heal whatever character as long as they hit a target, right? Like his healing output is good. Shit, he can technically heal more than Luocha in some scenarios, right? Um, which you wouldn't be in those scenarios, but I'm just saying he technically can do that. I don't mean like overall, right? Obviously, Luocha has shared healing, but like I'm saying instance hit, right? Luocha will heal cast for like almost 400k. Gallagher, I've seen do over 400k for his like heal cast. That's what I'm saying. And also the AoE scenario, right? Where you get like multiple 1k procs times like 5, so you do like 5k plus healing with one character. Not that you need that much, but I'm just saying. But his break potential, in terms of break teams and in the future reference, right? He'll be really good for break meta or debuff meta that we're in currently. So I just think he's really good. I'm gonna take a swig of water. Mm. I've been really impressed with his performance at E0 and using him more at E6. I'm even more impressed. So like I do think he should be in A tier next to Lynx. I don't see like why we're doing this. Bailu being in B makes sense because of the cleanse. That's like the main thing. Her healing's okay, but it's really the cleanse. Um, that's like the main thing there. And then Japard, I do think purely because of how he works with Acheron should be in A tier, and that's really it, honestly. I have died with him before, right, multiple times just because uptime reasons, right, and certain characters getting multiple turns, like Dan, for example, or I guess a really fast Sparkle, right, does impact his setup, right. Now he works better with Run May because you get the freezes, right. He'll get the extra ice break potential from him, and because she makes everyone faster, he'll be able to hit those higher speed thresholds, right? So if we give him the synergy mark, move him up because of how Rune Maid helps him and Acheron helps his viability as he's basically one of Acheron's best sustains, if not best sustained for a free to play level. So I do think we can move these two up. Definitely Gallagher, he's really good. I think they're underrating his performance, honestly. And I've actually had my Gallagher even like unfully invested out heal Sam's like drain as well. I completely survived Sam with like out even spamming skill. I was spamming skill into other characters. So like again, and by the way, I'm doing this with a 3-star light cone on. I'm not even running him in the best healing setup. I'm doing it with a utility setup. Um, so I do think we can move both these characters up, and then we can talk about synergy with Acheron and March 7th. But I do think these two are the worst sustains. Uh, March 7th is a really weird one. It just I don't know. I think the main thing with me is the skill point inefficiency with her, having the recast and you only get the one shield versus Japard, who's skill point positive for the most part, and gives you a full team shield. That's like the same strength. So I don't know. There's some funkiness of Clara, or not Clara, March 7th. So yeah, that's basically that for MOC. I know I yapped a lot, but I'm gonna hop into pure fiction again. Tell me your thoughts down below. What you guys think of all this. Um, Generally, I think the DPS, as I said, is fine. Specialist one is fine. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Generally, the DPS is fine. I do think QQ could be moved down. It. I don't like how Jing Yuan feels either. As I said, I do think you can make an argument to move him down. But QQ makes sense to move down. And then everything else makes sense. As I said, specialist, these characters should be moved up, just like straight up. Definitely Gwenifin, well, debatable. Uh, as for Amplifier, we need to swap Pella and Silverwolf immediately. This is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? and then sustains move everyone but Luocha up, basically. Yeah, again, I do think these guys are much better than people are giving them credit for, right? Obviously, these guys gap them for right, but I do think they are worth running. All right, Pure Fiction. So as for Pure Fiction, I'll keep this one short. Ooh. Nah, bro, we ain't doing that. It's the same shit you did with Luocha. Okay, so in case you guys don't remember, with Luocha, he was down here, and I was saying, and I don't know if it made it into a video, I was saying that they need to move Luocha up to S for Pure Fiction because of his AoE damage, right? And the AoE break, when you combine that with Rune Mei, it's really good. And because, again, he's AoE, he synergizes well with a bunch of the buffs for Pure Fiction. Now, granted, they try to take into account, like, their average and not consider the buffs currently, right? Before they did. And that's one of the mistakes I made previously. But Gallagher is doing the same shit but break. So you're going to get the damage out of it. So why is he in B tier again? Is it because you don't get as much uptime with the ultimate? Because you build energy recharge? You build more energy with him? But because you could just put post-op on him. You can put post-op. You can run the energy recharge with Gallagher. So, like, what the... Okay, hold on. So, Herta, I don't think should be S+, unless you put the synergy mark on her. She needs someone like Himiko to slay. Himiko S by herself. But put the synergy mark on Herta if you're going to do this, okay? Straight up. Argenti being an S tier. This is fair. I've seen 0 cycle clears of Argenti, like break Argenti, where you just ult, and you kill everything because you got infinite ults, right, that are being buffed up from breaking Fizz Break. So he's kind of like the king of Pure Fiction. But if we're... like, I really don't understand why Herta's the only S+. She's pretty universal, I would say, for Pure Fiction. But I think she needs the synergy mark. Because by herself, I don't think she's putting in the work. I think she needs somebody to enable her to put in the work, which is Himiko or any other DPS, right? Herta Argenti, because he's going to, do enough damage, then Herta's going to come in, clear them up, right? I think she needs the synergy mark if we're going to put her in S+. I'll be honest, I don't think Jing Yuan deserves S. I think he should be moved down. I have used him in Pure Fiction. He only carries my Pure Fiction runs when it's the follow-up buff. Every other Pure Fiction run I've done, Jing Liu has done better than him. And now those same Jing Yuan mains are going to go in my comment section and tell me, it's my build, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not my build. Lightning Lord literally is a shitty mechanic. The one Pure Fiction I had to reset like 100 times because Lightning Lord would be eaten up by one of the shielded rats. You know, the boss that create a shield, right? They hit you and then shield up. You're telling me this dude deserves S+ when his damage gets entirely ignored by an ultimate? No. Okay, his entire setup is completely invalidated by the enemies in this game. It's so annoying. I don't think he deserves it. I'm actually mad seeing this, not gonna lie. I think he should be moved down. He does not feel good in most Pure Fictions. Just straight up. He needs Herta. He needs Herta to win. Like, straight up. And oh my god. People are gonna be like, oh, but that was a dot Pure Fiction, right? You don't know what you're talking about, Gold Demon. Nah. No. He doesn't do enough damage to kill, bro. I swear to God. Maybe I'm just yapping. I'm talking to a wall right now. People aren't gonna listen to me. Just Lightning Lord is a shitty mechanic. And yeah, he suffers from it, right? The fact that I could not clear the Pure Fiction unless I got a perfect rotation is just, it says something about them, right? It's really annoying. Everyone down here is fine. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. Dan being down here previously, I said didn't make sense, but considering his damage output requires the skill points, it actually makes sense why he's down here. These other characters work pretty fine in Pure Fiction. So that makes sense. Dr. Ratio, obviously down here. I'm honestly surprised to... Wait, no, I'm not. No, Misha sucks. Never mind. Yeah, the rest of this makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my only thing is give her to the synergy one if she's going to be up here. I'll be honest. I'm hating on this man's. I'm hating on this man's. All right. I'm hating him. I'm just hating. Straight up. Look. I got him because I like him back in 1.1. Sorry, 1.0. All right. I don't hate him. But God, he does not perform as well as some people like to say. The he needs so much. He needs so much. Uh, yeah, these are fine. Break MC is up here. Yeah, I'll be honest. Break MC, very, very popular Pure Fiction. I used it a lot with Run May, in the earlier Pure Fictions because there was a bunch of Fire Week, and even currently, because it allows you to like one shot a whole wave with just MC. So very, very good. And Sampo's a weird one. I'm not gonna lie. He has a bounce ability. Gwen makes sense because it's guaranteed AOE. I'd have to see more Sampo. Obviously, Topaz falls off, and then Welts kind of negatively impacts your run because you would want more damage and not to delay the enemies. You want them to act. So, like, DOT, you want them to act, or you want them to hit you to generate energy, right? So, that one's kind of whatever. Shuei, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. She does well in certain Pure Fictions, but she wants the quantum weakness, so yeah. And then RIP Bozos for the physical weak. Obviously, Runmei is still number one. Silverwolf is apparently the worst character for Pure Fiction. We need to move Pella up. I'll be honest, crit Pella Pure Fiction or Pella plus Runmei Pure Fiction. She will go in one-shot waves by herself as well. Okay, I'm telling you, Pella deserves to be higher. I don't know why we're doing this still. Put Pella up more. Asta's here is fine because she gives AoE speed versus Henya. So yeah, that's fine. Everything else is fine. Well, yeah, no, that's totally fine. Yeah. Everything's fine except move Pella up. I don't know why we're doing this. The sustains. Japar. Okay, so Japar plus Acheron is a thing, but you can do the same thing with MC plus Acheron and guaranteed stacks. So like, eh, because technically, here's the thing: you can do break MC with Trend on Rune May with Acheron and get the same debuff application as running like one Japar. But then you're also one-shotting waves with MC while getting Rune May to buff another damage dealer that's AoE like Herta with Acheron on the team. And so now you're running a full DPS team that has the pseudo defensive utility of running both these characters and the damage output. So it's like, why would you run Japard? Gallagher, I do think needs to be moved up. He's AoE break just like the MC. So why are we why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Plus he heals. Like come on, bro. Why are we doing this? Everyone else makes sense. What? Actually, no. Can we move both Lynx and Gallagher up? Wait, no, just Gallagher. Never mind. I take it back. Just Gallagher. Lynx doesn't do anything besides give taunts to Clara. And Blade. So yeah, never mind. At least Gallagher needs to be moved up. So yeah, boys, I've been yapping quite a bit. I don't know. Did my audio mess up? Okay, well, apologies if I completely ignored your ears by lowering the volume, right, and talking to the mic, blah blah. Yeah, I will say again, I think Prydwen tier list is fine this time around. It's fine. I've got a couple of really big gripes, as you know. But I want to know your guys' thoughts, right? Tell me what you think down below. You know, if you agree with me or if you disagree with me, if you agree with Prydwen, if you disagree with Prydwen, you know, any of that stuff. What would you like to see changed in the tier list, right? That's the main thing, right? Is there a specific thing that you disagree with or want to bring up about a character? And that's basically about it. I don't have much to say. And yeah. Okay, before I go, I'm gonna pray to the Jingyuan mains, to the Kafka mains. Don't get mad at me and dislike the video again. Just comment that I'm wrong. Oh man. Okay. This is like the worst video to upload on April Fool's Day. I'm not doing this as a joke. I'm being like dead serious. Okay, this is a 100% serious video, which is why it's an hour long. Um, But yeah, no ill will against those fans. Just keep it reasonable. All right, don't get enraged because someone disagrees with you. Right? Yeah, that's about it. See you.